Today we will start with bryophytes, and we all have studied bryophytes in our previous classes, UG. UG we have studied about bryophytes. They are termed as, they are called as amphibians of the plant kingdom. They belong to the kingdom Plantae. So it was a name given by Braun, bryophyta. Bryon. It's a Greek word meaning moss, and phyton means plant. So bryophyta is a division which chiefly comprises of mosses, hornworts and liverworts. கல்லீரல், ஈரல் பூடுகள், கொம்பு பூடுகள்னு சொல்லுவாங்க தமிழ்ல. mosses, hornworts, liverworts. Example, Markantia, Rixia, Anthoceros. We have studied Funaria. So all these belong to the division Bryophyta. So they are green plants. They have chlorophyll regions containing regions. They have characters resembling both algae as well as pteridophytes. Okay, so pteridophytes are vascular cryptograms. We'll call them cryptogams. Okay, those who do not have proper root, leaf, stem distinction. So we call them cryptogams. Okay, so you have vascular cryptogams and non-vascular cryptogams. So non-vascular cryptogams is bryophytes come under non-vascular cryptogams. Non-vascular meaning they do not have specialized vascular tissues which are found in higher plants like xylem and phloem. That means wood is absent. No, woody part is absent in their life cycle. Woodina that the கட்டைத்தனம் அந்த திசு வந்து இருக்காது. கட்டை திசுகள் சொல்லுவோம் இல்லையா, xylem and phloem. The absence of xylem and phloem is, that is why they are called non-vascular cryptogams, because they do not have a distinction between stem, root or leaf. They don't bear flowers. So they occupy a very simple vegetative body, gametic and non-gametic body. So they are termed as cryptogams. So these bryophytes, they have characters both of belonging to algae as well as pteridophyte. Pteridophyte are slightly in the higher order. They are called vascular cryptogams because they have very simple xylem tissues. Okay, they have very primitive xylem tissues. Pteridophytes have primitive xylem tissues, so they come under vascular cryptogams. So these bryophytes form a bridge between algae and pteridophytes. So they have certain algal characters like presence of flagellated bodies, like for example sperms, antherozoids they are called. Male gametes are flagellated in bryophytes. Now this is an algal character. So in higher bryophytes like Polytrichum, Funaria, you have a distinction, like the plant body can be differentiated into root-like, stem-like and leaf-like structures. You can't call them root, stem and leaf. You can call them root-like, stem-like, leaf-like structures. So Funaria, Polytrichum, those which are in higher order of bryophytes, they have a distinction in the body of the plant. They have leaf-like structures, root-like structures, stem-like structures. So these characters resemble pteridophytes. So that is why we call bryophytes are forming a bridge between algae and pteridophyte. So they are called amphibians of the plant kingdom because they are they are actually coming to the land habitat from the algal members. So algae are chiefly aquatic habitat. So bryophytes are thought to be evolved from algal members chiefly. So when the algal members slowly they come to the land, they form a different group of division. It is thought to be evolved from algae. So bryophytes are chiefly found on the land. So they are called the amphibians. That is, they some of the part of the life cycle of bryophyte is in water. Major part of the life cycle is on the land. That is why they are referred to as amphibians of plant kingdom. So they produce embryos. Bryophytes produce embryos, but they don't have seeds. That's why they are called cryptogams. They don't have vascular tissues. So they are referred to as non-vascular cryptogams. And they are the most simple and primitive group of embryophyta. And they are said to be the first land plants or non-vascular land plants. So it's called Atracheata. So why, that's why I told you the most important algal resemblance is the swimming antherozoids, the male gametes which are flagellated. So that is what is referred to as bryophyte. So they have no wood, nor do they have large leaves or showy cones or flowers. So that is why they are called non-vascular cryptogams. So distribution of bryophytes. Where do you find bryophytes? They are represented by many genera. Cosmopolitan. Cosmopolitan means you can find them anywhere, but mostly they prefer cool climates. So you can find bryophytes where in mostly in the hilly regions, mostly. So they are found growing both in temperate. You can find them in tropical regions, but at a high altitude because the temperature will be quite pleasant and cold at high altitude. So you find bryophytes in Nilgiri hills. Okay, you find in all the hilly regions bounding the Himalayas, Darjeeling, okay, Sikkim, all these eastern Himalayas, Sikkim, Gangtok, okay, Manipur, Nagaland, Meghalaya, all these places will have rich bryophytic flora. So some of them have, you can find them in Ooty, South India, Ooty, wherever you have a higher altitude, rocky, the waterfalls, Pakatlala, you can see a lot of bryophytes growing. So you can see them wherever you have a high amount of water or dampness, you can find them. You can find them growing very well in the rainy season. Rainy season. Okay. So that is about the distribution of bryophytes. So habitat of bryophytes, where do they live? You have different diverse habitat groups are there. So normally they grow in moist and shady places, okay, and form thick carpets or mats on damp soil. This you would have seen moss, you would have seen velvet madri irkum. Wherever you have in the rainy season, you can see the walls or the roadsides, no, on the road pedestrian crossing. If it is always waterlogged, you can see moss growing over it. So velvety it will be. So they normally prefer the moist soil. You can see them growing on rock, moist rock. You can see them growing on bark of tree during the rainy season. So most of them are terrestrial. Okay, most of them are terrestrial. That means they live on the land. But few species grow in fresh water. Very few species, the primitive orders of families of bryophyta like Rixia, they grow in water also. Okay, so this is a Rixia thallus. Okay, the body, plant body is called thallus. The plant body of bryophyte is called thallus, thalloid. This is also another algal character. So most of the algal genera, the body is called a thallus. So here the body of the bryophyte is also called as thallus. So thalloid structure, you can see the rixia with dichotomous branching at the tip. So you have rixia, realia, all these are aquatic. So mostly bryophytes are not found in the sea, but some of them are found growing in the rock crevices of the rock. You can see some of them which grow in the crevices of the rock. And some are seen in different habitats like bogs. Bogs, na, marshy areas like we have marshy area in near ECR. No, near, okay, what is that called? You have a marsh, Palikarne marsh. So you will have water stagnation. So it is called bog. காத்தால பார்த்தா ஒரு மாதிரி மிஸ்ட் மாதிரி ஃபார்ம் ஆகும். அந்த இடத்துல வந்து நல்ல மிஸ்ட் இருக்கும். So they are called bogs, where it is marshy. So water, the land is stagnant with water. Okay, marshy area ன்னு சொல்லுவோம். So அந்த இடத்துல you can see sphagnum moss. This is the marshy area. This you can see sphagnum moss growing in marshy places. And then you have epiphytic moss, bryophyte. Epiphytic na, it grows on another plant. So this is a plant, okay, growing on the rock, and on this another bryophyte is growing, Dendroceros. So Dendroceros is a bryophyte which is an epiphytic bryophyte. So it is growing on another, attached on another plant. So this is another kind of habitat. Okay, so some bryophytes are epiphyllous. Epiphyllous, epi means on, phyllous means leaf. So some of the bryophytes grow on angiospermic leaves. Like for example, you have Crossomitrium is a bryophyte which grows on the leaf. Okay, you can see the thallus of the bryophyte growing on the leaf. So this is another kind of habitat. So another Polytrichum juniperinum. This is Polytrichum juniperinum, which is a xerophyte. It grows in the desert conditions. Okay, it's a xerophyte. So it grows on dry land. There are another habitats like old walls. On old walls, you can see bryophytes like Tortula muralis on old walls, you can see. Okay, and Tortula desertorium, you can see in the deserts. You can see Porella on dry rocks. You can see Porella is a bryophyte which grows on dry rocks. And then some of them are saprophytic organisms. Saprophytic na makkundigal solvu. Those which grow on dead and decayed matter. So you have some bryophytes which grow on dead and decayed matter, organic matter. Cryptothallus mirabilis. This is a saprophytic organism. Okay, so these are the varied habitats of bryophytes. Chiefly they grow in land where there is moisture and water. Some of them can grow in high water content. Some of them can grow in on plants. Some of them can grow on leaves. Some of them grow on bogs. Some grow on rocks. Some grow on walls. So you have a diverse group of habitats for bryophytes. So chiefly bryophytes have two plant stages, life stages. One is the gametophytic stage, one is the sporophytic stage. Every living organism as such has two, gametophytic and sporophytic, higher forms, living organisms as in higher forms. So bryophytes, in bryophytes, gametophytic stage is dominant. Okay, and it is independent. Okay, gametophytic stage is independent and it is more longer lived. Okay, is more longer lived, is the haploid gametophyte. So gametophytic stage is haploid. Okay, so the plant body is haploid, vegetative plant body is haploid. The plant body in bryophyte is a gametophyte. And the diploid sporophytes appear only occasionally. Okay, and they are totally dependent on the gametophyte. In some species, they are very, very microscopic. They are found inside the gametophyte. In some higher forms, you can see a part of it. You can actually see it in the naked eye. Okay, like Funaria polytrichum, you can see the sporophyte. But in Markantia, lower forms of bryophytes, you cannot see the sporophyte outside. It will be inside the gametophyte. So some of them remain at, all the sporophytes will remain attached to the gametophyte. Okay, because they are totally dependent on the gametophyte for nutrient. So in bryophytes, the diploid sporophytic stage is very simple stage. It is totally dependent on the gametophyte. It does not live a separate life. Whereas the gametophyte is an independent life cycle in bryophytes. So the vegetative body is a gametophyte in the bryophytes. So you can see the whatever you see outside, the thalloid body is the actually the gametophyte. So when we talk about the general characters of bryophytes, plant body is gametophytic, independent, dominant. Okay, whichever is independent is considered as dominant because it is autotrophic. That means it does not depend on others for food. It can make its own food supply. So it is autotrophic. That means it will have chlorophyllous tissues. So being autotrophic, it is independent. It leads an independent life because it is autotrophic. So it can be thalloid, thallus-like means what? It is not differentiated into root, stem and leaf. This is the thalloid vegetative part. So some bryophytes will have a thalloid vegetative part. Their body is called thallus. Some of them will have foliose body. Vegetative body is called foliose because they have a leafy shoot-like structures. You will have a shoot stem-like structures with leaf-like structures, but they will not have roots. They will not have roots. So it is called foliose. Foliose means leafy shoot. Okay, so either the bryophytes will have thalloid body or they will have a foliose body. So plant body is very small. Some of them are very, very, very small. That is, they must be around 5 millimeter. This is a this is a bryophyte which is called Zoopsis. It is the smallest bryophyte. The plant body is almost 5 millimeter in size. And you have a tallest bryophyte which is called Dawsonia, which is around 50 to 70 centimeters in size. So this generally to tell that you have the smallest bryophyte which is called Zoopsis and the largest, tallest bryophyte Dawsonia, uh, which looks like a higher plant actually, which looks like a higher plant. So leaves and stems which are found normally in vascular plants are absent. So you can say leaf phylloid is the term given to the leaf in bryophyte, leaf-like structures. So stem, instead of using the word stem, we have to use axis. Okay, we have to use axis. So on the axis, you can see the phylloid structures arranged. So that is why we don't make use of the term leaf and stem because they are vascular tissues where they are vascular plant parts. So we make use of the term axis and phylloid. So those bryophytes which have leaf-like and stem-like tissues, body parts, they are referred to as axis and phylloid respectively. So you don't find roots in bryophytes. Roots are absent. Instead, you have rhizoids. So these rhizoids are just single cells, filamentous structures like fungal hyphae. It will resemble fungal hyphae. You'll have a continuous cell which is found on the undersurface of the plant body. And cells are capable to absorb moisture directly from the ground or atmosphere. So wherever they are, either they are attached to the rocks or they are attached to another plant, they are attached to the soil. Okay, so wherever they are, they can absorb moisture. That is, the rhizoids absorb moisture from the habitat or substratum. So bryophytes can survive in moist soils. So rhizoids may be unicellular, unbranched, or multicellular, branched. Okay, so you can see the picture of the rhizoids here. Rhizoids can be unicellular or multicellular. They can be unbranched or they can be branched. Okay, some of them show branching, some of them, so Rixia marcantia, they are unbranched. Branching can be seen in higher forms, higher orders, families like Funaria, moss, sphagnum. So in Marcantia, you can see some scales. Okay, they are violet colored multicellular single cell thick. They protect the growing point and help to retain the moisture. So they have something called scales which protect the bud. So you can see the scales. You can see the scales in Marcantia, in lower bryophytes. So they protect the growing point and help to retain the moisture. So there is total absence of vascular tissue, xylem and phloem. Water and food material is transferred from cell to cell. You have something called plasmodesmata where cytoplasm, there is movement of protoplasm from one cell to another. This we have studied when we have studied anatomy. So each plant cell is interconnected to each other through plasmodesmata. So the protoplasm from one cell can move to the other cell. So this way the nutrition and water can be transferred from one cell to another cell. So in higher bryophytes, I mean in advanced families of classes of bryophytes, you have a few cells which is used for conduction of water and food. Okay, these cells are called hydromes. Okay, these cells are called hydroid cells, or collectively called hydrome. So water and food. Okay, water ku hydroid, food ku leptoid respectively. Okay, in few bryophytes, advanced families la, you have 2 to 3 cells which take the role of conduction of water. These cells which conduct water are called hydroid, and some of them conduct food. They are called leptoid. So this is not present in all the forms, only in few advanced forms you can see. So these are the primitive stages of xylem and phloem. So the actually xylem and phloem would have evolved only from hydroid and leptoid. Okay, so you can see some cells which uh, whose function is to conduct water and food. So they are very, very primitive, very simple in structure. And you don't have cuticle and stomata in bryophytes. So these are the structural general characters, vegetative characters in solvo, that is the plant based structural characters which are seen in bryophytes. So if you see the internal characters of bryophyte, anatomy of bryophyte, internally the plant body is differentiated into green photosynthetic cells and colorless storage cells. This also we would have studied in Marcantia. When you take a section of Marcantia, you can see 2 distinct layers inside. The top layer is photosynthetic. All the cells will be having chloroplast. It will be greenish, and the below portion is colorless storage cells. You will have storage granules. So internally, the plant body is differentiated into green upper photosynthetic layer and lower colorless storage cells. And when you talk about the vegetative reproduction, you have fragmentation is very, very common. So vegetative reproduction is more efficient than the sexual reproduction. It takes place by means of fragments, tubers, gemmae. See, all these, you can call them asexual reproduction also, but they don't produce spores. So we refer to as vegetative. Okay, so you have fragmentation where one bit, if this there is a cut, I mean when one bit gets cut from the thallus, it can give, each bit can give rise to a new thallus. So fragmentation, you can have tubers, okay, at the tips of the growing point you can find tubers which will, when they break, they can give rise to a new thallus. Then you have gemmae. Gemmae we have studied in Markantia, cup-like structures which are found over the thallus and which can give rise to a new thallus, Riccia thallus or Markantia thallus. So this is normally the vegetative reproduction. The bryophyte vegetative reproduction plays a major role for producing new thallus. So they are more efficient than the sexual method. So they are more frequent also. Most of the bryophytes, they undergo vegetative reproduction more frequently. Okay, so sexual reproduction in bryophytes is termed as oogamous type. Oogamous, you have the gametes, you have male gametes, female gametes taking part in sexual reproduction. The male gamete is called, male sex organ is called antheridium. This also we have studied. And the female sex organ reproductive part is called the archegonium. The male sex organ is club shaped. You can see the male sex organ which is club shaped, and it is surrounded by a single layer jacket. This is the single layer jacket. Okay, inside you have innumerable anthrazoid mother cells. Okay, inside the protoplasm is divided into many numerous anthrazoid mother cells, or they are called androcytes. So each androcyte will be converted to a motile biflagellated sperm. It is called motile biflagellated sperm. It is otherwise called antherozoid. It is called antherozoid. So this is the antheridium and how it develops into the antherozoid. The female sex organ is called archegonium. Okay, it is a flask shaped structure. Okay, and it has a swollen venter. Okay, and a narrow neck. It has a swollen venter and a narrow neck. The venter will house the egg. Egg is found inside the venter. Okay, and you have the ventral canal cells above the egg which protects the egg. The neck has 4 to 8 neck canal cells. The structure of the archegonium will differ from genera to genera, but chiefly it is having a swollen venter at the bottom and a narrow neck at the top. So venter will have the egg. Above the egg you will have 2 to 3 So above the egg, you will have 2 to 3 venter canal cells, and the neck will be lined by neck canal cells. And so on surrounding the neck canal cells, you will have cover cells, which will protect the developing egg or the developing archegonium. Okay. So the mouth, this is the mouth of the neck, which is covered by the cover cells. So this is the archegonial structure, and inside the archegonium, egg is produced, female gamete. Inside the antheridium, the male gamete antherozoid is produced, and they are released at the appropriate time. So only when water is present, fertilization will take place. That is why I said sexual reproduction is not always, it is not very frequent as the vegetative reproduction. That is why vegetative reproduction is more efficient than sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction will take place only when the gametes are released in water. So I was talking about the sexual reproduction, where water is very much essential, because that is why the anthrozoids are flagellated. They have flagella. So anthrozoids swim in water to reach the archegonia. So anthrozoids will be released, and they have to swim to the archegonium. Okay, that is why they are provided with two flagella. They swim to the archegonium and reach the venter portion of the archegonium. So during the sexual reproduction, path will be, path will arise. The neck cover cells will get degenerated, and there will be a path which will lead the sperm to the egg. Okay, so that is why water is very much essential. So there is actually there is some attraction, some chemicals are secreted. Okay, that attracts the sperms towards the archegonia. So we call it chemotactic attraction. Chemotactic means some attraction due to synthesis or excretion of some chemicals. Okay, ஏதோ வேதிப்பொருள் வந்து சுரக்கும். So அந்த வேதி பொருளின் the attraction, it will get attracted. The male gamete will get attracted to the chemical substance which is produced, released by the egg. So it will go into the archegonium. So one of so you will have so many sperms coming out. Okay, so androcytes, anthrozoids, so many will be released, but only one will fuse with the egg. Okay, to form the zygote. So zygote is diploid. So till now the gametes are haploid. Once the sperm fuses with the egg, the zygote is formed, and this is the diploid stage. Okay, and the sporophyte, that is the diploid sporophyte we say. That is what is called the diploid sporophyte. So in primitive bryophytes, in Rixia, Markantia pathina, the sporophyte is very small and it is inside the archegonium itself. In some bryophytes, you can see you can see it with the naked eye. You can see the sporophyte with the naked eye. So this sporophyte normally has three parts: foot, seta, and capsule. Okay, foot, seta, and capsule. Okay, foot, seta, and capsule. You can see they are of three parts. They have three parts. Sporophytes in bryophytes will have three parts: foot, seta, and capsule. And the sporophyte is always attached to the gametophyte. That is why we say they lead a dependent life. They are totally dependent on the gametophyte. That is why we say gametophyte is the dominant phase in bryophyte. So the capsule, the capsule of the sporophyte only produces the spore mother cells. Okay, so once the zygote, the diploid sporophyte starts developing, it will produce many spore mother cells. It will produce many spore mother cells depending on the species. Markantia, Rixia will have a simple sporophyte. You can see the Anthoceros sporophyte. You can see the sporophyte of Funaria. So each sporophyte, inside the capsule only, the spore mother cells are produced. Okay, the spore mother cells are diploid cells, and they undergo meiotic division. They undergo reduction division to form the haploid spores. So each spore mother cell will produce 4 haploid spores. You can call them, they are referred to as tetrads. They are referred to as spore tetrads because 4 spores will be attached together in the form of tetrad. So the spores are haploid. So these are the tetrad spores. Okay. So the spores are homosporous. Homosporous now, all the spores of a particular species will be same in size and shape. So we refer to as homosporous. Homo means same, similar. Okay. So all the spores of a single species, they are all same in size and shape. So the spores produced in bryophytes are called homosporous. Okay, so towards the end of the towards the advanced families, advanced bryophytes, you can see heterosporous condition also. Mostly you can see heterosporous conditions in pteridophytes. Okay, so the spores are considered to be the first cell of gametophytic generation. So this is the first cell of gametophytic generation. So they are diploid. Okay, and the spores are haploid. Thus they are the first cells of gametophytic generation. So when the spores are liberated, they reach a suitable substratum and they germinate to give rise to a filamentous green thallus called protonema. I will show you the pictures. Okay, they are filamentous green thallus called protonema. So when the spores germinate, they give rise to a filamentous இழை உடலமாக இருக்கும். They are referred to as protonema. Okay, and this protonema develops into a young gametophyte. So you can see the young gametophyte here. In Markantia, you can see the young gametophyte, which is anthridiophore and archegoniophore. Okay, it is totally dependent on the, you can see the gametophyte here. Okay, gametophytic body developing. So the gametophyte and sporophyte are dissimilar. Gametophytes and sporophyte are dissimilar. So this is the gametophytic body of Markantia. This is the sporophytic body of Markantia. Okay, so they are totally dissimilar. They are not similar. Okay, so they are, it is called heteromorphic. Hetero means different, morphic means morphology. So the plant body of bryophyte, sporophyte plant body and gametophyte plant body are totally different morphologically. So they are called heteromorphic. So life cycle of a bryophyte is called diplohaplontic because it has diploid phase and a haploid phase. So it is also referred to as diplohaplontic. So you have a proper alternation of generation in bryophytes. So you have the gametophytic stage and sporophytic stage alternating with each other. So you have a distinct alternation of generation. Okay, the சந்ததி மாற்றம் சொல்வோம் இல்லையா, சந்ததி மாற்றம் வந்து தெளிவான சந்ததி மாற்றம் you can see in bryophytes. Okay, so we can I'll show you some pictures. We have seen the general characters. I will show you some pictures. You can see the sporangium of a higher bryophyte. Okay, so sporangium, operculum is there, a lid. Okay, that is the capsule. We call it capsule, Funaria capsule. Okay, you can see the operculum, which is the lid of the capsule, and you can see the liberated spores, tetrads. See, I'm just going to refresh what we have already seen. So you don't have any specialized tissues, okay, for transporting water and dissolved food. Okay, only in higher bryophytes you have this hydroid and leptoid. Hydroid for transferring water and leptoid for transferring food. You can see this only in higher bryophytes. So this is normally in most of the bryophytes you don't have any specialized tissues. So that is why the terrestrial forms or the bryophytes which live on land are very short and very small. Since the only way to move substance through the plant body is by osmosis and diffusion from the surface moisture. So cell to cell transfer only is possible. So from the atmosphere, moisture is taken in by the cells. So osmosis diffusion இது ரெண்டு முறையில தான் வந்து the moisture can be transferred from the atmosphere to the plant body. That is why the plant body is very small. Okay. So bryophytes do not have roots. See, these are the rhizoids. These are the rhizoids. You can see the rhizoids here. They can be singular or multicellular, branched, unbranched. Okay. So they don't have roots but have rhizoids, which are very simple. Okay. Some can be multicellular, thin walled cells. They are very thin. They have thin walled cell. So this is actually the plant body of moss, Funaria. You have the rhizoid, you have the gametophyte and the sporophyte. So in moss, Funaria polytrichum lala, you can see the sporophyte with your naked eye. Okay. This is the leaf-like structures, the main axis, okay, rhizoid and the sporophytic plant. So this is the primitive Markantia or Markantia, which is thalloid structure. You can see the rhizoids here. Very simple rhizoids are there. You can see the scales. Okay, you can see the midrib portion. Okay, so this is the structure of a simple bryophyte. So reproduction, I had told you, vegetative reproduction is fragmentation. Any portion can get cut and each one will give rise to a new plant. The breakage can be accidental, sometimes due to erosion, due to falling away of the rock. It can lead to fragmentation. So துண்டித்தல் வந்து எப்படியும் நடக்கலாம். And each fragment can give rise to a new gametophytic plant body. Sexual reproduction is oogamous type. So you need production of male gamete, production of female gamete, and then fertilization. These three steps are important for sexual reproduction. So cycle of fertilization followed by meiosis. Okay. So fusion of the male gamete and the female gamete followed by meiosis. So that is why you have a alternation of generation between a haploid gamete, gametophyte, and diploid sporophyte. Okay. So because the haploid gametophyte only produces leaf-like structure, thallus structure, it is very dominant stage when compared to the sporophytic generation. So this is the sporophytic capsule. Okay, seta and capsule. This is the gametophyte which bears the sporophyte. This is just the image of a bryophyte. Okay, sporophyte bearing gametophytic plant. Okay, sporophyte bearing gametophytic plant. See, this is the male gamete, antheridium, male gamete, male sex organ, antheridium. Okay, inside the antheridium, you have the anthrozoid mother cell. Okay, and they release the, see, the sperms or the anthrozoids are released by the antheridium. So you have numerous sperms, haploid sperms being produced by the antheridia. Antheridia are club-shaped structures, okay, which are produced on the plant, gametophytic plant. See, archegonia, as I told you, it is a flask-shaped structure. You have the venter, swollen venter at the base. Okay, you have the venter canal cell, and then at the top, you have the neck canal cell. So neck canal cell is covered by cover cells. The tip of the neck canal cell is covered by, tip of the archegonium is covered by the cover cells. So you can see the egg here, swollen area, which is having the venter, which houses the egg. You can see the egg cell in the venter. Okay. So each archegonium holds one egg. Okay. So the sperm enters through the pathway, through the neck, and then it enters and it fuses with one sperm fuses with the egg. So this is what I told you. The whole archegonium, it secretes the some chemical which attracts the sperm. Okay, it's called chemotactic attraction. So fertilized egg develops into the sporophyte. So inside the venter itself, the zygote forms, okay, and it will develop into a sporophyte. The sporophyte consists of a spore containing capsule, which depending on the species will be stalked or stalkless. It might have stalk or it might not have any stalk. Okay, so each spore inside the capsule only, the spore mother cells will undergo meiosis to produce spores. Spores are the haploid cells. The first gametophytic cell of bryophyte is called the spore. Spores are the first cell of gametophyte. Okay, and they will have both the male gene and the female gene. It will be a mixture of genes from the two parents, and it will give rise to a new gametophyte. That's what I told you. When the spore germinates to give rise to a filamentous structure called protonema, and when the protonema grows further, they will produce the plant body, leaf-like structures and the axis. So they are called buds, and they'll further grow into the gametophytic plant. See, this is another picture of the Marchantia archegoniophore. Okay, archegoniophore and thridiophore. The part which bears the antheridium, the part which bears the archegonium in Marchantia. So gametophyte of Marchantia. Very, very tiny. They are very, very small, microscopic. So this is another picture of the protonema. You can see the filamentous structure. Okay, young protonema. See, 0.5 millimeter. The size is only 0.5 millimeter. See, another picture which shows the germinating spore and the filamentous protonema, primary protonema. Okay, so this is the spore tetrad. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and the other one is on the other side. So they are all connected. So they are called spore tetrad. Okay, these are the spores of different species of bryophytes. This is the life cycle, general life cycle of a bryophyte. Okay, some of them bear the male and female portion in the same plant. Some of them have male plant and female plant. So you have the gametophyte, which through which the archegonium and the antheridium are developed, and they undergo fertilization. After fertilization, you can see the capsule, the foot seta and capsule. Inside the capsule, you will have the development of spores. After meiosis, they are haploid spores. They will germinate to give rise to protonema, and then they will form the gametophytic plant. Very simple life cycle, general life cycle. This is a diagrammatic life cycle. Gametophyte is the dominant plant body, dominant phase of the life cycle, haploid gametophyte. So they produce antheridia and archegonia. Antheridia produce anthrazoids, which are haploid. Archegonia produce egg, which is haploid. They fertilize and produce a zygote, which is diploid. Okay, and they will produce the sporophyte. The diploid zygote produces sporophyte, which is referred to as embryo, primitive embryo. And the sporophyte, inside the sporophyte, you will have the spore mother cells, which are diploid, and they will undergo meiotic division to liberate the spores, which are haploid. So from the zygote to the spore mother cell, it is called sporophytic generation. So zygote, sporophyte, spore mother cells, They are referred to as sporophytic generation. So from spores, the spores will germinate to give rise to the gametophytic body, protonema, buds, and the gametophyte. So in moss, you have in mosses, the spores will germinate to give protonema. It will have buds, and each bud will give rise to the gametophyte. In liverworts and hornworts, like Markantia and Anthoceros, the spores will germinate directly to give rise to the gametophyte. Primary protonema will give rise to the gametophyte. So from the spores to the before fertilization, from the spores till the production of anthrozoid and sperm and egg, it is a gametophytic generation. So the gametophytic generation is dominant. So you have each bryophyte will undergo alternatingly the gametophytic phase and the sporophytic phase. So you have a distinct alternation of generation in gametophyte. So we have seen the general characters of bryophytes.